So it's been about, 3 or 4 days since
Yes.
we spoke at the start of the event.
Yes.
And we talked the first time about how to describe it, who to go to,
Yes.
all of those things. There were some actions, there were some different bits. Like, what's happened since, Curtis?
So our first conversation was great. I had thought about the very start of it when you asked me to explain what I was doing, what my product was. And I remember sitting here and thinking I was being very articulate and clear as to what I was building. And after a 2-minute brief description, your reaction was, and I don't know verbatim, but it was, I understood all the words you just said for the last 2 minutes. However, I still don't understand what your product does. And, that struck me. I was like, this is great feedback because I, over the last several months while I've been developing my platform, speak to a lot of friends, colleagues, people in my professional sphere, and those who are very technical understand, but those who are not, I've had that same feedback. And I didn't really realize it until we had that conversation that I tend to explain it as if I'm talking to a CTO or someone who's in technology. So that was very eye-opening. And the next day I had an opportunity to speak to someone and they didn't know what I did and they had asked. And I succinctly explained it in about 15 to 30 seconds.
What did you say?
I took out all the tech jargon and I basically used an example to explain it versus trying to give them the technical details or the features of what it might do. I didn't explain industry. I just said, I'm really trying to take out time and cost of developers, and here's what it is. It's like Excel, using Excel in a web browser, and they immediately understood it. And then they dug in with a few additional questions, and then I could kind of explain or give other examples, and this person was not a technology person, but they followed right along, and then you could see his eyes light up, and he started asking more questions. And he was like, I'd love to follow you and keep track of what you're doing. I'm really curious as to how this goes. And that made me feel good because I've had that conversation before. And now I look in retrospect and realize I've had that same dialogue. And they walked away and they were like, I'm not sure what he does. And
the slight furrowed brow of,
right. So the excitement
sure.
wasn't quite there. But if they knew what I was up to, they might be as equally excited as the person I spoke to this past week. So that was great. So that alone was fantastic. And it's helped me really think as I'm talking to people. In the sessions this week, I've had several people come and ask me, and each time I talk to them, I try to think of what's their background and explain it from that regard and get away from the technology jargon. And then when I speak to someone who is either a fellow programmer or has managed technology projects, I can get more technical and I can read their physical cues, and it's been just really helpful. So thank you for that.
It's a pleasure because it's a process learning this stuff. When I first started PopUp, there was no way I could describe it succinctly.
Right.
I tried lots of things, like it's a set of workshops over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound very exciting.